The planet Zephora hung silently in the shadow of a massive, glowing nebula, its surface cracked and barren from years of neglect. Jaren, a lone space traveler, guided his small ship through the dusty atmosphere, searching for supplies and shelter. The settlement he spotted from orbit looked abandoned, buildings crumbling, streets empty, and a cold wind blowing across the ruins. As he stepped outside, the crunch of broken stone under his boots echoed through the silence. Then he noticed movement near a collapsed building. Small figures crouched low, eyes wide and nervous. Two alien children stared at him, their bodies thin, their skin shimmering faintly under the strange light. They looked scared, but their hunger was stronger than their fear. Jaren knelt down slowly, showing he meant no harm. He opened his pack and offered them a small ration of food, the only supplies he had. The children hesitated, unsure if he was friend or enemy. Finally, the younger one stepped forward, whispering a strange language, musical and soft. They took the food carefully, eyes never leaving Jaren, and began to eat, small hands trembling with gratitude. Jaren smiled, feeling warmth he had not felt in years, a simple act of kindness connecting him to beings far from his world. For a few moments, all was quiet except for the soft sounds of the children eating. Then a shadow passed over them, dark and tall, moving silently between the ruined buildings. The children froze, their eyes wide with fear, and they grabbed Jaren's hands tightly, urging him to hide. He followed their lead instinctively, crouching behind a broken wall, heart pounding. From the shadows, a figure emerged, tall and cloaked, radiating power and authority that made the air itself feel heavy. Jaren could not see her face clearly, but even from a distance, he felt the presence of someone extraordinary. The children whispered something urgently, pointing at her, and Jaren realized they knew her. He could feel their fear, but also their trust in him, and it made him determined to protect them. The figure stopped a few meters away, her eyes glowing faintly, scanning the area. Then she spoke, her voice low and powerful, yet calm. "Who dares feed my children?" Jaren froze, unsure how to answer, his mind racing. I only wanted to help. They were hungry," he said cautiously, keeping his hands visible. The children held on to him tighter, their small hands gripping his arms like anchors. The figure's gaze turned toward them, and Jaren could see the softness in her eyes, a stark contrast to the power that surrounded her. She knelt slightly, studying the children closely, then looked back at Jaren, and her lips curled into a faint, mysterious smile. "You are brave to care for them," she said, her tone both approving and warning. Jaren realized he had stumbled into something much larger than himself. This was no ordinary woman, and these were no ordinary children. The children whispered again, their strange words floating in the air, musical and urgent. Jaren could only guess what they were saying, but their meaning was clear. They were asking him to trust her. The cloaked figure extended a hand toward them, and the children ran into her arms without hesitation. Jaren felt a strange mix of relief and unease. The figure's presence was overwhelming, her aura like a star that could bend light and shadow around her. "You have acted with kindness," she said softly, "but kindness in this galaxy is rare, and sometimes dangerous." Jaren swallowed hard, understanding that his simple act of feeding two starving children had placed him in the center of something far greater than he imagined. The children clung to her, but their eyes kept looking at him, a silent thank you passing between them. He realized he had formed a bond with them, one that could not be broken by fear or power. As the sun of Zephora set behind jagged mountains, the glow of the nebula above painted the sky in colors Jaren had never seen. He felt a strange pull toward the figure and the children, as if the universe itself was guiding him. He knew that leaving now was impossible, that he had a role to play in their lives. The figure, still cloaked and mysterious, finally spoke again, her voice calm but commanding. "Come with me, traveler. The galaxy is larger than you can imagine, and your choices here will echo across it." Jaren hesitated for a moment,
then nodded, understanding that this journey was far beyond anything he had ever faced. The children laughed softly, a sound of relief and joy, and ran ahead to her, while Jaren followed, feeling the weight of both fear and wonder. He stepped into the unknown, knowing that helping two starving children had changed everything. And somewhere deep in the stars, he felt the universe watching, waiting, and testing him.
Jaren followed the cloaked figure and the children through a narrow canyon, the air thick with strange mist. The nebula's glow above painted everything in swirling colors of purple and gold, making the rocks shimmer like crystal. The children held the woman's hands tightly, their small fingers glowing faintly with energy. Jaren tried to keep up, but the path was uneven and steep, and he stumbled more than once. Finally, they reached a hidden clearing where a ship unlike any Jaren had ever seen hovered silently, its surface gleaming like liquid metal. The woman gestured toward the ship, and the children ran ahead, laughter ringing through the air, a sound so joyful that lifted Jaren's heavy heart. He realized the ship seemed alive, responding to their presence, humming softly as if it recognized them. The woman turned to him slowly, her cloak falling back just enough to reveal a face that was both beautiful and terrifying. Her eyes glowed like twin stars, full of wisdom and power, and her hair shimmered as if it contained the light of distant galaxies. Jaren felt a wave of awe and fear wash over him. "You helped them," she said, her voice calm but resonating with authority. "And that has brought you here, to a choice that very few can face." Jaren swallowed hard, unsure of how to respond. I only wanted to feed them. I didn't know who they were," he said, his voice small. The woman studied him, and for a moment her expression softened, a faint smile crossing her lips. "You have compassion, and that is rare in this universe," she said, stepping closer, the energy around her making the air hum. "Compassion is a power that many ignore, yet it shapes destinies." Jaren looked at her, trying to understand, but words failed him. The children ran to a platform inside the ship, their laughter echoing, but every now and then they glanced back at him, their trust unspoken but clear. The woman gestured for him to follow, and he hesitated, fear gripping his chest. "Do not be afraid," she said, sensing his uncertainty. "I am Lyria, the most powerful woman in this galaxy, and these children are my heirs." Jaren's eyes widened, his mind spinning. He had helped two children without knowing their connection, and now he realized the weight of what he had done. Lyria continued, "They have been hidden from those who would use their power for destruction. You have acted without thinking of consequences, yet you chose to help, and that tells me much about your character." Jaren swallowed again, feeling small in her presence, yet proud that his simple act mattered. "You must understand," Lyria said, "the galaxy is full of forces that seek control. Those who are kind are often the first to be tested, and sometimes endangered." Jaren nodded slowly, realizing that his journey was no longer about survival, it was about trust, courage, and understanding a world far larger than he had ever imagined. As he stepped onto the ship's platform, Jaren felt energy flow beneath his feet, as if the ship itself recognized him. The children ran ahead, their laughter fading as they entered a hall filled with strange machines and glowing symbols he could not name. "This is the heart of my domain," she said, her voice echoing slightly. "And you are here because of the choice you made in a small moment of kindness." Jaren looked around amazed, understanding the responsibility that came with this knowledge. He realized that these two children, innocent and fragile, carried a power that could shape entire worlds, and he had become part of their story, a story much bigger than his own life. Suddenly, alarms blared softly, the ship's systems detecting movement outside. Jaren felt a shiver run down his spine, sensing danger approaching. Lyria's eyes narrowed, her aura flaring like a sun, energy rippling around her. "They are coming," she said, almost casually, but Jaren could hear the warning in her voice. He looked at the children, who hid behind her, their small hands glowing, ready to defend themselves. Jaren realized that his decision to feed them had set off a chain of events that was far from over. Lyria's gaze met his, sharp and piercing. "You must decide, Jaren. Will you stand by us when the galaxy tests you?" He swallowed, feeling both fear and determination rise within him. "I will help," he said, voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. Lyria's lips curved into a faint smile, approval flashing in her star-like eyes. "Then prepare yourself. The galaxy is about to show you how fragile and dangerous kindness can be." As the ship lifted off the planet, the nebula glowing behind them, Jaren looked down at Zephora. The ruined settlement, the children, and the choices he had made felt small against the vastness of the universe. Yet he understood one thing clearly: his actions mattered, even in the face of unimaginable power. And the story of two starving children, a powerful mother, and a lone traveler had only just begun. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and Jaren knew that his life would never be the same again. Every choice, every act of compassion would echo across the galaxies, shaping destinies in ways he could not yet imagine.
The ship moved silently through the void, its surface glowing faintly, reflecting the distant stars. Jaren walked cautiously through the corridors, his eyes wide at the strange machines and holographic displays showing entire galaxies. The children ran ahead, laughing softly, but every now and then they looked back at him, making sure he followed. Lyria moved with a quiet grace, her presence filling the ship like a living force, and Jaren felt the weight of her power with every step. He tried to understand the strange devices lining the walls, lights pulsing in patterns he could not comprehend. "This ship is alive," Lyria said, her voice calm. "It responds to those who are aligned with its energy." Jaren swallowed, realizing he had entered a world far beyond anything he had ever imagined. The children giggled, racing along the deck, their small hands leaving trails of faint light. Jaren followed them to a large chamber, the center glowing with energy that hummed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Lyria turned to him, eyes gleaming. "You have helped them. That is why you are here. But now, you must learn the truth of this galaxy." Jaren's mind raced as she began to explain. "The children are heirs to a lineage that controls the balance of the universe," she said, her tone serious, hidden from those who would exploit their power. "They were sent to Zephora to protect them until they were ready, and you chose to help them without knowing who they were." Jaren's heart pounded. He had fed them out of kindness, not realizing their importance. Lyria continued, "Your actions, though small to you, have echoed across the stars, signaling hope to those who have long forgotten it." Jaren looked at the children, now playing near a glowing console, unaware of the weight of their destiny. He felt awe mixed with fear. This was no ordinary act of compassion. He had stepped into the center of galactic power. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped urgently, and a red light flashed on the wall. Jaren turned to see Lyria's eyes narrow, her aura flaring, energy radiating like waves of light. "Someone is approaching," she said, calm but firm. "They seek the children. If they capture them, they control the galaxy." Jaren felt a chill run down his spine, realizing the danger his simple act had brought. The children sensed it too, stopping their play and huddling near Lyria, small hands glowing faintly, ready to defend themselves. Jaren looked at the panels, trying to understand the threat, but the technology was far beyond human understanding. Lyria's voice echoed, soft but commanding. "Do not be afraid. You have courage, and courage can change fate." As the ship moved closer to a strategic point in the galaxy, Lyria explained more. "There are factions that wish to seize power, who would slave planets and crush civilizations," she said, eyes scanning the stars outside. "The children, if used by the wrong hands, could turn the tide of war in an instant." Jaren's stomach tightened. The weight of responsibility was overwhelming, that he knew he could not turn back.
I only fed them, he said, voice shaking. I did not know any of this would happen. Lyria's gaze softened for a moment. Kindness is never small. It carries consequences, but also power. Jaren realized the truth of her words, that his simple choice had altered the course of galaxies. The children tugged at his hands, urging him to follow them. They led him to a room filled with maps of stars, gloating symbols and moving constellations he could not name. This is where we track threats, Lyria explained. Here we see the movement of forces across countless systems. Jaren stared in awe, realizing the vastness of the galaxy, the countless lives, and the delicate balance maintained by Lyria and her lineage. The children laughed softly, pointing out a small planet that shimmered faintly. That's where we are from, one whispered in their musical language. Jaren felt a connection to them, understanding that their innocence hid immense power, and that he must protect it. He realized that survival alone was not enough. He had to understand, adapt, and act to safeguard them. Suddenly, the alarms grew louder, the ship shaking slightly, a warning flashing across the holographic displays. Enemies are near, Lyria said, her voice calm, but Jaren could see tension in her eyes. He looked at the children, now standing close to Lyria, their hands glowing brighter, energy responding to their mother's presence. Jaren knew that he had to act, not just follow, but participate, using his own courage to protect them. He realized that the galaxy was testing him as much as it tested Lyria and the children. Every choice he made now would ripple across stars, affecting countless lives. And though fear gripped him, a new determination filled his chest. He would not fail. As the ship moved toward the approaching threat, Jaren felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. The children held his hands tightly, their trust unwavering, and he understood that even in the darkest moments, hope could survive. Lyria looked at him, eyes glowing like distant suns. Your journey has only begun, traveler. The secrets of the galaxy will challenge you, but courage and kindness will guide you. Jaren nodded, heart racing, knowing that he was no longer just a traveler. He was part of a story far greater than he had ever imagined. The stars stretched endlessly before them, dangerous yet beautiful, and Jaren knew that the galaxy's secrets were waiting to be revealed, and he would face them, side by side with the children and their powerful mother.
The stars outside the ship stretched endlessly, silent and beautiful, but Jaren felt the tension growing. The ship's sensors flashed urgent warnings, and a red glow filled the control panels. Lyria stood at the front, her hands lightly touching the shimmering holographic display, her eyes scanning the approaching fleet. Jaren could feel the energy around her, powerful and overwhelming, yet calm, controlled. The children clung to her, small hands glowing softly, eyes wide with both fear and curiosity. Jaren's heart raced. He had never seen ships like these, sleek, dark, moving with deadly precision. They are coming for the children, Lyria said, her voice steady but low. If they succeed, they will control more than worlds. They will control the galaxy. Jaren swallowed hard, realizing the danger was far greater than he had imagined. The children whispered to each other, their words soft but urgent, a strange language that hummed with energy. Jaren felt a chill run down his spine as he realized he would be part of the defense, not just an observer. Lyria turned to him, eyes sharp. You have courage, but courage alone will not save them. She touched the panel, and the ship shifted, rising higher above Zephyr's surface, glowing shields forming around it. Jaren saw the children's small faces light up with a mix of awe and excitement, their powers beginning to react to the danger. This is no ordinary battle, Lyria said, voice calm but commanding. The enemy will test your instincts, your heart, and your courage. Jaren nodded, fear and determination mingling in his chest. He realized that everything he had done, every act of kindness, every choice, had led to this moment.
The approaching fleet grew larger on the screens, weapons glowing like deadly stars. Jaren's hands tightened into fists, a mixture of fear and resolve filling him. The first ships entered the system, moving like shadows across the nebula's glow. Lyria raised her hands, energy crackling around her, bending light and space. The children mirrored her gestures, small but potent bursts of light shining from their hands. Jaren felt awe and fear. Even small actions here could ripple across galaxies. The enemy fired first, beams of energy cutting through space, and the shields of the ship flared brilliantly, holding the attack at bay. Jaren ducked instinctively as a warning pulse shook the deck. He glanced at the children. They were laughing softly, eyes glowing, their confidence in their mother unshakable. Lyria's aura flared, and the ship itself seemed to respond, shields strengthening, engines glowing brighter. "Move quickly," she commanded. "Every second counts." Jaren joined her, helping direct smaller defense systems, though he barely understood the technology. He felt fear gnawing at him, but he remembered why he had helped the children in the first place. He could not fail them, no matter how powerful the enemy. The battle raged outside, ships twisting and dodging in the colorful light of the nebula, energy beams flashing, explosions scattering stars in miniature bursts. Jaren saw enemy ships closing in, faster and deadlier than anything he had imagined. He realized that courage alone would not win this fight. But courage combined with trust, teamwork, and the children's powers could tip the balance. Lyria moved like a force of nature, her energy shaping the battlefield, protecting the ship and its precious cargo. Jaren felt a strange pride, knowing that his small act of kindness had allowed him to be part of this. Suddenly, a massive shadow loomed, an enemy flagship, far larger and more powerful than the others. Lyria's eyes narrowed, the energy around her flaring like a sun, bending light around the deck. The children clutched her hands, their power responding instinctively, brightening the room with waves of energy. Jaren's heart raced. He had to act, to trust his instincts, to help protect them. He guided the ship through evasive maneuvers, dodging energy blasts, directing shields to protect weaker points. Lyria nodded at him briefly, a silent acknowledgement of his courage. The enemy flagship fired, a massive beam slicing through space toward them. Jaren froze for a moment, fear gripping him. Then the children reached out instinctively, their small hands glowing, and the beam split, harmlessly dissipating in bright sparks. Jaren gasped in amazement, realizing just how powerful they were when united with their mother. The enemy was relentless, attacking from every angle, but the ship, powered by Lyria and protected by the children, held strong. Jaren could feel the tension, the stakes of the battle, the lives hanging in the balance. He realized that his journey had taken him far beyond survival. He was part of a story that could shape the fate of the galaxy. As the enemy regrouped, preparing for another wave, Lyria turned to him, eyes glowing. "Prepare yourself, Jaren. This is far from over. Your courage will be tested like never before." Jaren nodded, feeling fear and determination mix. He looked at the children, their hands glowing, their trust unwavering. And he knew he would fight, no matter what came. The stars stretched endlessly around them, silent witnesses to the battle unfolding. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see who would prevail. Jaren gripped the console, ready to act, ready to protect the children, ready to face the unknown. And deep inside, he understood one thing clearly. Kindness had brought him here. Courage would keep him, and the universe was about to show him just how fragile, yet powerful, a single act of compassion could be.
The enemy flagship loomed closer, its dark hull stretching across the nebula's glow. Jaren's heart pounded as alarms blared across the ship, warning of energy spikes and hull stress. The children clung to Lyria, their small hands glowing brighter with every passing second. Jaren realized this was the moment where courage, compassion, and power would collide. He had never faced anything like this, yet he knew he could not falter, not when the children's lives and the fate of the galaxy were at stake. Lyria stepped forward, her aura flaring, bending the light around the ship. She raised her hands, and waves of energy rippled outward, forming shields and barriers. The children followed instinctively, their powers intertwining with their mothers, creating a luminous force that dazzled Jaren's eyes. The enemy fired, beams of energy slicing through space, but Lyria's shields held firm, glowing brighter with each strike. Jaren watched in awe as the mother and children moved as one, their bond evident in every gesture. Even in the chaos of battle, there was a strange beauty in their unity, a force that seemed to bend reality itself. Jaren knew he had to act too, not just watch. He guided smaller defense systems, aiming energy pulses at approaching fighters, dodging blasts, and helping the children move safely. Fear clawed at his chest, but determination burned stronger. He realized that his small act of feeding the children had led him here, into the heart of galactic power and responsibility. Every choice mattered, and every act of kindness echoed through space, shaping outcomes far beyond his imagination. The enemy flagship unleashed a massive energy beam, aimed directly at the ship's core. Jaren froze, knowing the shields alone might not hold. Then the children reached out instinctively, their small hands glowing, their energy merging with their mothers in a brilliant surge. The beam hit the combined energy and shattered into sparks, harmlessly scattering into space. Jaren gasped, marveling at the sheer power of the children when united with Lyria. He realized that kindness, courage, and trust could create strength that even the deadliest weapon could not break. Lyria's aura flared fully, bending the very light of the nebula. The enemy fleet faltered, their ships twisting in confusion, unable to penetrate the defenses. Jaren directed smaller attacks, helping to push back the enemy fighters. The children laughed softly, their hands glowing, echoing a joy that filled the ship with warmth and hope. Jaren's fear faded, replaced by pride, knowing that his simple choice had played a role in this victory. The enemy flagship recoiled, massive energy beams scattering as it tried to escape. Lyria's voice echoed, calm but commanding. This is a lesson of balance. Power alone cannot protect, but kindness, courage, and love can change everything. Jaren nodded, understanding fully the truth in her words. He saw the children smiling at him, their eyes shining with gratitude and trust, and he realized that even in a galaxy full of danger, compassion could shine brighter than any weapon. The fleet retreated, disappearing into the darkness of space, leaving the ship and its precious passengers safe. Jaren looked around at the children, their small hands glowing faintly, and Lyria, her aura still shimmering like a living star. He felt a wave of relief, awe, and humility, knowing he had been part of something far greater than himself. "You acted with courage and kindness," Lyria said, her eyes meeting his, "and that has changed the fate of the galaxy." Jaren swallowed, emotion choking him. I just wanted to help," he said softly. Lyria smiled, a rare, gentle expression. Sometimes, the smallest acts have the greatest consequences.
The children ran into Lyria's arms, safe and laughing, the fear and uncertainty of before gone. Jaren stood back, watching, feeling a strange peace, knowing his journey had taken him beyond survival, beyond fear, into a role that mattered across the stars. He realized that the galaxy was vast and dangerous, but also full of beauty, courage, and unexpected heroes. And he knew that his simple act of feeding 2 starving children had brought him to this moment, a moment where kindness became power, courage became strength, and hope lit up the darkness. As the ship moved quietly through the nebula, the stars stretching endlessly around them, Jaren looked at the children and Lyria and felt a deep connection, a bond forged by trust, compassion, and courage. He understood now that the galaxy's true power lay not in weapons or fleets, but in the choices of those brave enough to do what is right. And as the nebula's colors shimmered around them, Jaren knew that this was only the beginning of their story. For in a universe so vast and full of danger, kindness could still shine brighter than the stars, and the echoes of small actions could ripple across galaxies, shaping destinies far beyond imagination.
The ship drifted silently through the stars after the battle, but Jaren could feel that the calm was temporary. Even as the children laughed softly in Lyria's arms, a sense of unease lingered in the air. He walked along the glowing corridor, eyes scanning the strange panels and pulsating lights, still amazed at the ship's living energy. Lyria moved beside him, her expression thoughtful, the glow from her aura soft but steady. "You have done well," she said quietly, "but the galaxy does not rest, and neither will those who seek to control it." Jaren nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He had faced one enemy, but the galaxy was vast, full of dangers he could not yet imagine. Suddenly, an alert flashed on a distant console, a soft red warning accompanied by a low hum. Jaren and Lyria approached, reading the display together. A strange energy signature appeared in a nearby system, unlike anything they had seen before. Lyria's eyes narrowed, her aura flaring slightly. "This is not the work of ordinary beings," she said, voice low but firm. The children huddled close, curiosity mixed with caution, their small hands glowing faintly, ready for whatever came. Jaren's heart pounded. He had survived the first test, but now a new challenge was coming, bigger and more dangerous. He realized the galaxy was teaching him, shaping him, and preparing him for something far greater. The energy signature pulsed, a living rhythm that seemed to reach out across the stars. Jaren felt it in his chest, a strange vibration that made him aware of the vastness and danger beyond. Lyria gestured toward the map, showing a cluster of planets affected by the anomaly. "The galaxy is calling for intervention," she said, "and you, Jaren, are part of it." He swallowed, knowing that he could not ignore this new threat. The children's eyes glimmered, sensing the challenge ahead, and they looked to Jaren for courage. He felt a surge of responsibility, realizing that small acts of bravery and kindness would continue to ripple across space. As the ship approached the anomaly, a strange fog of energy surrounded it, shimmering like a storm of light. Jaren stared through the viewport, unable to comprehend its scale. "This is no ordinary anomaly," said Lyria, her hands glowing as she manipulated the ship's systems. "It is a living rift, a doorway between dimensions, and it is unstable." The children watched with wide eyes, but neither fear nor panic touched them. Jaren marveled at the confidence, born of their mother's guidance and their own latent power. He realized that his journey was no longer just about survival or helping. They were teaching him, showing him what it meant to be brave and compassionate. Suddenly, the rift pulsed violently, sending waves of energy toward the ship.
Alarms blared, and the ship shook as if the universe itself had reached inside. Jaren and Lyria braced themselves, the children holding on to her tightly. "Stay calm," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "The rift responds to energy and intention. Focus your mind, Jaren, and act with purpose." Jaren's hands moved over the console, following her guidance, unsure but determined. He felt fear, but he also felt hope, courage, and a strange connection to the children and their mother. Energy rippled across the ship, the rift responding to their combined presence, pulsing faster, brighter, and more alive. Suddenly, shadows appeared inside the rift, strange shapes moving with intention. Jaren's breath caught, realizing that whatever emerged would not be friendly. Lyria's aura flared fully, bending the light of the nebula, shielding the ship. The children mirrored her energy, their small hands radiating power. Jaren felt awe, fear, and determination all at once. He realized that the galaxy's challenges would never end, but he was no longer alone. Together with the children and Lyria, he could face threats that seemed impossible. As the ship hovered at the edge of the rift, the lights of the anomaly reflecting off the metallic hull, Jaren knew the next battle would test him in ways he had never imagined. The children's trust and Lyria's power gave him courage. He gripped the console tightly, heart racing. And he understood one thing clearly. In this galaxy, kindness, courage, and unity were the most powerful weapons of all. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, full of unknown dangers, mysteries, and opportunities. And Jaren, once a simple traveler, now part of a story that spanned worlds, was ready to step forward for the next challenge, the next adventure, and the continuation of a tale where compassion and bravery shaped the destiny of the universe.
The ship hovered at the edge of the glowing rift, waves of energy rippling across its hull. Jaren's heart pounded as he stared into the swirling lights, shadows moving within like living creatures. The children clung to Lyria, their small hands glowing brighter than ever, their trust in her absolute. Jaren felt awe and fear in equal measure, realizing that whatever emerged from the rift could change everything. Lyria's eyes glimmered like distant stars, calm and commanding. "You must understand," she said, her voice echoing softly, "this rift is not just a tear in space, it is a gateway to untold power and knowledge." Jaren swallowed hard, trying to comprehend. "Power? Knowledge? For what purpose?" he asked. "The galaxy has secrets," Lyria said. "Secrets that some would use to conquer, to destroy, to enslave entire worlds." Her hands glowed, manipulating the ship's shields and energy fields with precision. The rift tests all who approach it. Only those who act with courage, wisdom, and kindness can survive its trials. Jaren's eyes widened, realizing that every choice he had made, from feeding the two starving children to trusting Lyria, had prepared him for this moment. The shadows inside the rift began to take shape, forming figures unlike any Jaren had seen. Creatures of pure energy, shimmering, twisting, their eyes glowing like distant suns. The children instinctively reached out, their hands radiating a warm, protective glow. Jaren felt a strange connection, as if their energy and his own courage could influence the beings before them. Lyria's voice rang out, steady and commanding. "You must understand," she said, her voice echoing softly. "Do not fear. Show them who we are, not with weapons, but with unity and compassion." The creatures paused, their forms pulsing, sensing the energy of the mother, the children, and Jaren combined. A beam of energy shot from the rift toward the ship, and Jaren braced himself. The children stepped forward, glowing hands meeting the beam, and it split harmlessly around them. Jaren marveled at their power, the culmination of innocence, guidance, and trust. Lyria moved like a force of nature, her aura flaring, shaping the rift's energy to form protective barriers around them. The shadows within the rift recoiled, sensing that this was not simply a confrontation, but a test of character.
Jaren realized that the galaxy's true power was not in weapons or fleets, it was in courage, compassion, and unity. The rift pulsed, brighter and faster, as if responding to their presence. The children giggled softly, fear replaced by curiosity, their energy intertwining with their mother's in a dazzling display. Jaren felt awe and determination, understanding that he had become part of something much larger than himself. He guided smaller control panels, helping to stabilize the ship and focus the energy. The creatures inside the rift paused, then slowly began to move back, forming a swirling portal instead of a storm of chaos. Lyria's eyes met Jaren's, a rare approving smile appearing on her face. "You see," she said softly, "kindness, courage, and unity have turned the threat into opportunity." The portal stabilized, shimmering like liquid light, revealing glimpses of distant worlds and galaxies Jaren had never imagined. The children pointed and laughed softly, their joy contagious, and Jaren felt a warmth spread through him. Lyria explained, "The rift contains knowledge and power, but it is neutral. It reflects the hearts of those who face it. You have proven worthy because you act with compassion and courage." Jaren looked at her, understanding fully for the first time the depth of the journey they had shared. He realized that the galaxy was full of threats, but also full of hope, guided by those willing to do what is right. Suddenly, the portal pulsed one final time, and a wave of energy passed over the ship. Jaren felt strength and clarity flow through him, a connection to the universe itself. The children laughed, running to Lyria's arms, safe and unharmed. Jaren looked out at the stars, the rift closing slowly behind them, leaving a calm, shimmering nebula in its place. He realized that their victory was not just about defeating enemies, but about trust, kindness, and unity shaping the galaxy. Lyria placed a hand on Jaren's shoulder, her eyes soft but full of authority. "You have done more than survive. You have learned that small acts of kindness can echo across worlds, shaping destinies." Jaren nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace and purpose. The children ran ahead, exploring the ship with joy, their energy still glowing softly. Jaren knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges, mysteries, and opportunities. But he was ready, now part of a story that could span stars and centuries, guided by courage and compassion. As the ship moved silently through the nebula, Jaren looked at the children and Lyria, understanding that their trust and unity had saved more than just lives. They had saved hope itself. The stars stretched endlessly around them, a reminder of the infinite possibilities ahead. And Jaren, once a simple traveler who had fed 2 starving children, now a hero in his own right, smiled. He knew the galaxy would always test him, but he would face it with courage, kindness, and the family he had found among the stars. For in a universe so vast, even the smallest act of compassion could become the greatest power. And together, they would continue to shape the destiny of countless worlds.